Aloha mai kākou. My name is Wally Ito. I am the recently retired limu hui coordinator for Kua ʻaina Ulu Auamo, but we usually use the acronym Kua. So now I'm doing more limu stuff under the organization of Uncle Henry's old organization, Ewa Limu Project. My first memory of shoreline gathering of limu is when I was maybe 7, 8 years old, and our family had a picnic at Ānuenue Beach Park. And I remember the limu being like piled up like 2 feet high along the shoreline, all the way from the mouth of Pearl Harbor to Barbers Point. At low tide, limu would be piled up high. So we would just like sort through the pile of limu to gather. For us, it was mainly mana whale. And we would bring it home, and mom would make ogo namasu with that. So that's my first memory. And then for many, many years, I only knew a couple of different kinds of limu. And I wasn't really interested in limu. I was spearfishing all the time. I was more interested in what's in the water column rather than what's on the bottom of the seafloor. For many, many years, I felt that limu was kind of in the way of that. And in 2005, I started volunteering here at this facility, Ānuenue Fisheries Research Center. And one of my tasks was to take care of the limu tanks. And I wasn't really too happy about it because I wanted to study more fish. But in watching limu grow and meeting other people who are doing limu research, that's where my interest and passion grew. So today we take a crew of a slowly building crew of people to Kilo to monitor shorelines for limu and try to learn lessons from those efforts. At the beginning, it was just my own. I like to see things grow. I like to garden and to watch limu grow in our tanks. I've been just playing around to see. I've been monitoring growth rate. What's the best salinity? My own like personal, I guess, research. Not anything formal, but just see what does well here or what doesn't do well here. And eventually, as limu hui coordinator, communities or members in our limu hui have gotten into limu restoration efforts. So that has been our focus over here for the last 6, 7 years, maybe longer, is to grow out limu and to be able to supply limu restoration efforts with seed stock. Limu can teach us many, many lessons, but in order to learn, to learn what limu's trying to tell us, people have to go to the shoreline to know their resource, their limu resource. That's why we go to Kilo often as we can. There's changes, and for limu especially, there's almost like very quick changes to the limu population, the limu abundance in the same spot. We've seen like significant changes in a matter of weeks. We go there 1 week and we go 2 weeks later, we're like, oh, this has changed. So Uncle Henry used to talk about, he said he could go to some place, stand on a shoreline facing the ocean and just looking at the limu there and what kind of limu is there, what kind of limu should be there, and the abundance of limu there. Just by observing the limu population, without turning around, he could tell you how well the people are taking care of the water all the way from the top of the mountain down to the shoreline. And so he always talked about the first raindrop at the top of the mountain and how we need to take care of that water as it makes its way down to the shoreline, because that's what feeds the limu. Uncle Henry always used to say, no limu, no fish, which is true. Yeah, limu is the base of the nearshore marine food chain. And another important environmental factor of limu, it's the habitat, or sometimes it's just a microhabitat for different organisms. It's a hiding place for small fish, baby fish, and it's an egg-laying surface, so for several invertebrates. And so when we see limu, we cannot help but observe, see all of these interactions. One of the big lessons learned is that groundwater, freshwater is important to limu health and limu growth. And the loss of that fresh water is one of the major factors that we're losing limu. Green limu, so like the palahalaha, vavaiole, a'alaula, ele'ele, especially palahalaha and ele'ele, they are indicators of where the fresh water or the groundwater is coming up on a shoreline. Another lesson learned from limu is a strong indicator of the health of the ahupua'a. And we, from my observation, the loss of limu is associated with urbanization. For me, limu was once important part of Hawaiian culture. Food, medicine, many ceremonies. And so to lose that knowledge is to lose a big part of Hawaiian culture. It's like the language, we almost lost the Hawaiian language. And if we had lost that, that's a huge part of Hawaiian culture. To me, limu has just as much importance to Hawaiian culture as language and all the different other different aspects. So this limu was one of Queen Liliuokalani's favorite limu. And we know that because she had some of the pakele wa'a brought in from Lahaina to be planted in front of her hale on the Waikiki shoreline. We go to the shoreline often to look at limu, to kilo, to watch what's happening. And we don't normally harvest or gather for home consumption unless we see there's a high abundance of a particularly desirable limu. We just go to pick and eat and taste and just keep walking. Pre-European contact, limu was used, was eaten, was a big part of the Native Hawaiian diet. And that's what a lot of people today don't realize, that everybody, when we think about the typical Native Hawaiian diet, everybody thinks about fish and poi. Limu was the important third component to that diet. Yeah. And so it was gathered extensively and eaten, harvested and eaten extensively. We've lost a lot of knowledge as far as uses of limu. And that's one of the purposes of our limu hui. That's one of the purposes of forming the limu hui, to try to recapture that knowledge, to retain that knowledge, and to pass it down before we lose anymore. And this is just my opinion. In the last maybe 3 generations, we've gone from going almost every day or at least regularly to the shoreline to collect limu to bring home to eat. And in the last generations, we haven't had that, we haven't had that practice. So there's no opportunity to pass on that knowledge. And so it's kind of like a spiraling effect. No limu, so we don't go to the shoreline to collect. So because we don't go to the shoreline to collect, we lose that knowledge. A big part of our effort today, the Everlimu Project and KUA, a big part of our effort is to recreate that awareness, to try to get people, especially the younger generation, especially for future generations, so that we don't lose that knowledge. Yeah, limu is resilient. If given the chance, it'll come back. The only question is, what do we need to do to give it that chance? Yeah, and so our limu community, or people who are doing limu restoration efforts, they're trying to figure out in their place how to get limu to grow there. And so learning from each other about that, I think is going to help with overall limu restoration efforts. For me, I'm very optimistic, and mainly because of the efforts of our limu hui and our education efforts and to try to get people, especially the younger generation, to create that awareness and to see when we take younger folks down to the shoreline and point out different things, and then we come back and what did you learn? And they say, oh, I learned so much stuff. And a big thing is that I didn't know I had so many different kinds of limu. And also there's like microhabitats, so you want to find this particular limu, it's that kind of knowledge that we are working to pass on. Seeing that spark of interest in younger folks helps us to continue, and we're seeing that spark very often. And so the future of limu lies in the hands of the younger people, or keiki, and to see that we've created, at least we've helped to create interest and awareness is very encouraging for us to continue what we do.